Hey guys, this is Will Roundtree, your FICO certified credit specialist, credit mastery instructor for the Jay Morrison Academy, author of 2 books, Credit is King, as well as Full-Time CEO, The Shit They Don't Tell You. But more importantly, I want to take you on this journey about financial literacy, the importance of credit, how to understand credit, and how to get to that money. Welcome to the Wealth Files Podcast. Peace, family. Will Roundtree here with the Wealth Files. Today's podcast got a very, very, very special guest. But before we get into that, I want to just introduce myself to the world. Never know who may know me, who may just be following, but founder, president, owner of We Management Services, now 2-time author of the first book, Credit is King. If you have not done so, make sure you go out and pick up that copy, get 10 copies. But more importantly, my second book, Full-Time CEO, The Shit They Don't Tell You, all of the ugly stuff they don't tell you about business, entrepreneurship. Hey, it's a lonely road. You know, we just see the finished product of the entrepreneur, or, we just see the championship rings that they've gotten, but we don't see all of the hard work, the loss of friends, the bad investments, all that stuff that you got to go through to become that champion and all that good stuff. So make sure y'all go out and pick up that copy. You can pick it up pretty much anywhere. Make sure you drop me a review, good, bad, or indifferent. Hey, I just want the feedback. But more importantly, today is all about the Wealth Files, where we're going to be dropping some content information, not just about wealth, but about entrepreneurship, life, and just all around some dope shit. And so what I want to actually do is bring on a very special guest who's actually a good friend of mine. Very good friend. Like a brother, almost.
Yeah.
Just different mother and different father. So interesting fun fact about our guest today. So I moved to Las Vegas in 2005. And for those who know me, they know I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And in Milwaukee, we had a very strong cultural scene in spoken word, poetry, a very culturally diverse urban kind of network in Milwaukee. And so was looking for something like that when I moved to Las Vegas, was searching the internet. This was around the time when Facebook was kind of, getting a little popular. And MySpace.
Yeah.
And I think I went to the internet cafe. I couldn't even afford internet because I had nowhere to live at the time. So I went to the internet cafe, came across this place called Urban Poetry Pulpit. Urban Poetry Pulpit. That's right, PPP. And so went to the location. I don't even remember how I got there. I think my tags were expired on my vehicle. I mean, I was a mess when I first got here. And so went to the venue. It was actually at this hookah lounge right across the street from the UNLV campus. So for those who are familiar with Las Vegas, UNLV is the college campus out here. So went inside, saw the event going on, and I was like, yo, who is throwing this event? I want to find out who it is. So somebody pointed me to this gentleman named Devin. And I'm like, okay, I need to go meet him. So introduced myself to Devin. I said, hey, I'm from Milwaukee. I'm from where, we do a lot of these type of events. Looks like you're just kind of getting this, this event going. I want to help out. I want to help promote whatever, I want to do. I'm just out here networking. No, you don't have to pay me. I love the culture of the spoken word network. And so he was like, I don't know you, but obviously you seem like you cool. Come on. And so for, months, we would be in the streets passing out flyers, going to other people's events, putting flyers on the cars, going to every single Black and urban event in Las Vegas, handing out business cards, flyers, all of that stuff just for the love of what we do. And so I have a very special place in my heart for this gentleman, for my brother, because, while I was in Vegas, my stuff wasn't all the way together. And I can remember there were times where I did not have a place to sleep. And, he was gracious enough to let me sleep on his couch during these times. I would hide my vehicle at his house because the repo man was after my car, all that humbling stuff. But more importantly, you just always kept me motivated. And then not even necessarily through your words, but you kept me motivated by seeing your work ethic, because I knew what your end goal was. And you wanted to bring culture, Black culture, to Las Vegas, because we think Vegas, entertainment capital of the world, it got to be a lot of stuff going on. And it really wasn't at the time until this individual literally changed the landscape of Las Vegas. So I want to introduce everybody to the world. Devin Moore, how you doing, sir?
Man, I'm doing great. It's definitely a pleasure to be here. The introduction definitely is overwhelming with thinking about the history that we have.
Man,
there's so many people that between 2005 and 2020 have came and went. And to have a friendship, a brotherhood, and fellow business owners and entrepreneurs, still closely bonded, is hard to find. And in the culture that constantly says no new friends, if that was a mindset back then, we would never have crossed paths.
Absolutely.
And so to have the friendship today still that's very vibrant and thriving, as we've matured as men, as we've grown as individuals, I'm just glad to be here, man. I really appreciate the opportunity.
No, absolutely. I know you're extremely busy. You actually got several events this weekend going on. So for you to take time out your schedule today definitely doesn't go unnoticed.
I was going to, weirdly enough, I was actually going to bring Bobby V because he's performing tonight. Okay. I was going to try to bring him over here, and then my time kind of went fast. I didn't get to go touch on him, but we have him in the city performing today. So,
okay.
But, yeah.
Absolutely, So we definitely appreciate that. So who is Devin Moore? Tell us.
I haven't thought about it in a while.
But about yourself.
Native of Vegas, born and raised. Which
so there's people who are actually born and raised in Vegas.
Yeah, there's more than what we know. Okay. Funny thing is that in 2005, when you moved here, I just moved back to Vegas.
Correct.
I was living in Hawaii for a couple years with a family-owned business there. They had been there for about 15 years at the time, and so I had just moved back. And that's when you and I really connected. And moving back to Vegas, I began to realize this was a land of opportunity because before that, I just took it as a city I grew up in. But when I moved back, I had a completely different perspective of what the city was. And so at that point, I said, wow, with all the traveling that I've done, the culture that I've seen around the country, I needed to make sure that we had something in Vegas that would lend itself to our community and to the way Vegas was growing as well. It was no longer just a blue-collar city, if you will. We were starting to have Black professionals move to the city, and they wanted somewhere to go that reflected Baltimore, D.C., Milwaukee, Chicago, Atlanta. And I said, well, I've been to many of those places. I want to make sure I have that here.
Correct.
So that this is a healthy place to be in. So I took that very personal, which is why I went into doing some poetry events at that time. But who is Devin Moore? I would say, aside from being a native, married, we just adopted a 15-year-old.
Definitely. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. A serial entrepreneur, business owner who believes in wealth creation, not just for, I was just saying earlier, not just for my family, but for the broader community. A lot of people talk about the success that I've been able to earn here in the city. And unfortunately, it's really, what they see is really not the goal or the zenith for where I plan on going. This is really a small part of it. And so for me, success is when I have 100 Black folks look like me making $200,000 a year. That is when I say I really have achieved something. But for now, I think I'm just a builder right now. I'm building the community, the business, and growing it as well. So that would probably be how I would best describe myself for now.
Okay. So something you said that, kind of reminds me of something that I used to get a lot. People are always saying, oh, you're born and raised in Vegas. It's like a shock that you were born here.
Definitely.
Why do you think that's stigma? Because when I tell people I'm from Milwaukee, the first thing they say, oh, it's Black people in Milwaukee? And I'm like, it's probably 70, 80% Black in Milwaukee. So like, where do you think that stigma comes from, people being shocked you were born and raised here?
It's very funny because when I first started to meet people from Milwaukee, I said the same thing.
Right.
I probably even said it to you in 2005.
You did.
Well, I did, right?
You did.
Like, oh, there's Black folks in Milwaukee? I didn't know, right? For Vegas, many times people think that Vegas is a city where people come and they leave.
Correct.
Without understanding the context historically that, hey, there was a migration out west. And my family came here in the 50s seeking a better life coming from the South. Off of plantations and cotton fields. I told this story recently to someone, how my aunt, who was the first person of my maternal side, came here because she was almost raped, and she ended up killing the person that was trying to rape her.
Oh, wow.
And she fled out west. She landed in Tucson, got married, was there for a little while, ended up getting divorced, and then left there and moved to Vegas. From there, she went back and got my grandmother, my grandfather, and an uncle and brought them here, which was in the 50s. And that's how my family got here, on one side at least. But yeah, they don't meet a lot of natives either, because natives generally heads down, they're working, they're just trying to grow their families and have a decent life. And as a result of that, natives don't come out as much.
That is true.
They, for some reason, I actually know historically, during the late 80s and the 90s, when gang violence was so, prevalent in the city, shootings and things like that, they really stopped coming out and stopped enjoying what Vegas was, to where now they only come out if it's a special major event, right?
Okay.
They'll go to a concert over at Planet Hollywood to see our guy, Carlos Pittman, who's now at Park. But that's the only time they really come out now. And so normally you don't see natives. And so when someone references Vegas, they often think of people that just drop in, visit, spend some money, and go home.
Correct. Now, I can remember when I first moved to Vegas, I would tell people, hey, I'm living in Vegas. And I'm like, where do you live? In a casino?
Yeah.
So, no, there's houses here.
Right.
We have grocery stores, schools and all of that stuff. So, but no, Vegas, I would say that if you can make it in Vegas, you can make it anywhere, because moving here, it's easy to get caught and trapped in the allure of Vegas.
Yeah.
And I could see why it's a transit city, because when you move here, it's almost like you're trying to live like a tourist. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what gets people caught up in that life. What have you been able to do, one, from being from Las Vegas, leaving and coming back? What has just kind of helped you to keep that mindset of like, you know what, that's not the path I want to go.
Sure.
I'm not trying to make my millions playing slot machines.
Yeah.
So how did you kind of keep your head above that situation?
Very interesting, because you're very on target with the fact that because Vegas is very transient, and that just means that people are always moving here, but they don't last long, because they do get caught up in the allure and the mirage of what Vegas is, which is fun, enjoyment, gambling, shows. It is that paradise that you get to have at your fingertips 24 hours,
Literally.
Right? In the casinos, we know that they don't have any windows. They don't want you to be able to see outside.
There's no clocks.
There's
in the
no
casino.
clocks. They don't want you to be aware of time by any means. They want you to stay in there, spend all your money as long as you
pump
can.
Oxygen, so keeps you up all night.
Keep you up. They make sure it smells good, generally speaking. At least the good ones do, the profitable ones do. But for me, I really became immune to it over the years, because I've never been a gambler. Even to this day, I don't do any sports betting even. That was never a thing. I'd always felt like I didn't have enough money to go and gamble with. Right. And I don't ever know if I'll ever feel that I have enough money to gamble with in casinos, when I know their way of building is by you losing, right? That's not the market I want to gamble in. If I'm going to gamble, I'm going to gamble on myself. I'll gamble on the stock market, but definitely not on the Vegas market. Right. That, along with the fact that I always knew the history of Vegas being coined as Mississippi of the West, and understanding that historically Vegas has been known, and I've experienced it even in my lifetime, the racism aspect of the city. And so that always kept me very conscious and aware that I need to make sure that my focus is building for our community, so that we won't be left behind and left out. Because often the city moves and it doesn't necessarily take into account what's going to benefit us, how we can be included, and how we can be able to thrive in a city that is, I think, growing in a very healthy way.
Correct. And so it's interesting you say that Vegas is the Mississippi of the West. And talking about being able to really, we don't have an identifiable culture within the Black community for Vegas.
Sure.
And I think that was one of the things that attracted me to, working with you. When when we would just sit down and have many talks about what your vision was, like the poetry was just a springboard for
Sure.
your, grander, ideas and
Sure.
grander, goals of what you wanted to do for the city.
Right.
And the other thing that I appreciate is that, you wanted to build something for the city. You could have easily taken this to somewhere else for what
Sure.
you've done.
Yeah.
And so, what was it in you that was like, you know what, I want to bring the culture here? And, and why do you feel you were the chosen one for that?
Growing up, and I didn't realize until I had some conversations about my youth, but I was always known as a doer in my life where I never wanted to just talk about things. I always wanted to make something happen. I don't know if that's the man in me or the way I was brought up necessarily, because I didn't grow up with my father. And I didn't grow up with a consistent, positive male figure. I was primarily raised by women, which they're definitely doers. So that could be it. But for me, I thought that if it is to happen, I think that sitting under the historical tutelage of Dr. King and then my current day, one of the mentors culturally and socially is Dr. Cornel West that I've met a couple times and talked with, is I truly believe that we have to be our own solution. And as a result of that, I was unwilling to. One of the things that I think happens as well is in Vegas and many other cities, we rarely want to see someone from the outside that is not familiar with the city, the people, and the history.
Come and take over.
And that was attempted so often in growing up. I would always hear, we coming to take over the city, et cetera. It wouldn't bother me so much, but taking over the city implied there wasn't something that was already there. And so I wasn't bothered by their desire and goal. I was more bothered by my unwillingness. Am I going to sit here and not contribute? That left the market open. I understand the city, it's a market at the end of the day, right?
Correct.
If there's not enough being done, it is someone's job to come and do it. So I thought, let me be the person to do it. And I thought that from my professional background, my love for the city, and being well-traveled, that I could bring something that would be able to last beyond 3 or 4 different events, something that would be long-term. And that's really what I set out to do, was to have something that would last. Because in many cities, I was just talking to one of my friends that works with me in my Go Urban Chicago, is that they talk about things start, but then they stop. And I didn't want to build something that I wanted longevity. And so I thought I was probably the perfect person to bring that.
Okay. And so speaking of Go Urban, that was a company that you started primarily to bring, cultural events here in the city, correct?
Yeah, it was a couple-fold. One of the aspects to it was, from the media standpoint, is that I feel like we don't have enough Black-owned media in our country. Media is pretty much owned by 3 major companies, right, that we consume. And so and with the advent of social media, it has given more people platform, but that's still not owned by us.
Correct.
Even with platforms like the Grio and TheRoot.com, they've been bought out as well. They're still operating by Black folks as far as, controlling them to some degree. But I think that what really drove me was to say I need a Black-owned media platform that's inclusive of our cultural events as well.
Correct.
And that's because I'm in that lane so much. I'm definitely going to start there with the media platform, Go Urban City, that my vision was larger than just Vegas, because as I looked around the country and I would travel, prime example, I went to Atlanta years back and there was a website called blackatlanta.net. And I may have told you the story before, but blackatlanta.net. So my wife, well, at the time, my girlfriend, we went to Atlanta. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do something different. I'm going to plan our trip out myself. Now, I'm not normally doing that, but so I go to blackatlanta.net to find a restaurant. I go to the restaurant, take my girl there at the time. We're expecting to eat, have a good time. Get to the door, it was closed. We asked someone, they said, this has been closed for 2 years.
Wow.
So I said, wow, in Atlanta, where is their Black website that I can get all the information I want? Asked around, no one really knew of a website. This was maybe maybe 10 years ago, right? So still social media still was not where it is today,
Correct.
right? So we weren't leaning so hard on social media. So I said, well, if Atlanta doesn't have a known website where everyone goes for information, we don't have it in Vegas, and Atlanta was the Mecca and becoming more of the Mecca. I said, wow, there's a gap here. There's a need that needs to be met. So what I decided to develop was with Go Urban City was to be in 56 markets nationwide. So we have, and we're developing Go Urban Vegas, Go Urban Detroit, Chicago, Atlanta, et cetera, in 56 different markets to be a media platform, which is going to be your news and information. Likewise, having information like a Vegas.com for entertainment, nightlife, culture, community, things like that.
So being able to control the media, the narrative. I love it, man.
Yeah.
I love
it's
it.
so important.
It really is. So now let's backtrack a little bit.
Sure.
A lot of times when people are just meeting you, they just see the finished product. You know, the company is doing successful.
Mm-hmm.
They see you, in 90 different million events, but they don't understand the work you put in to get to that point.
Yeah.
And see, I always respected what you've built because I was there.
Sure.
We were out at the clubs till 5, 6 in the morning handing out flyers. We go outside, all of them on the floor.
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, gosh.
We're in the clubs. We're at other people's events handing them the flyers. And so just how important was that level of work ethic for you? And because I know what it was, I know it was it within me. And I think that's why we clicked so well, because not only did our visions align, we was gonna outwork everybody.
Yeah.
And so where do you think that came from?
So when I played college ball, I realized that I wasn't one of the best on the team.
Correct.
But I refused to allow that to prevent me from being able to have a seat on the team, let alone playing time in the game. And so I said, even if I'm not the best and most talented, I was going to outwork everyone. And that was where I began to develop the character for having work ethic, and a strong one at that.
Right.
When I lived in Hawaii, it was a family-owned business, and so I took that very personal, and that added to my work ethic. And then when I moved back, looking at Vegas very different, it just became a big opportunity that said everything that I've been preparing for and working for someone else, I'm going to put that into something for myself. And so finding others with similar work ethic is extremely hard to do.
Very.
People, so funny. People want, this is a side note, but I have some people that work for me that at entry-level positions making $20 an hour to right now, entry-level positions at $20 an hour right now, and they feel like they should be paid more, yet the work ethic doesn't match. Right? And so work ethic is so important nowadays.
Now let's talk about that, not to cut you off.
No, sure, please.
I was having a discussion with some of my team, and we were talking about why do we feel people feel, hey, I should be making what Devin is making. And I said, you know what I think it is? It's entitlement. I think that we've been kind of conditioned culturally to feel like just because I know Devin personally, I should be on the same level as you. I grew up with you, or I'm your uncle. Because sometimes when you hire family that may be older than you, they feel, I used to change your diapers, boy.
Right.
And so that level of entitlement, how do you deal with that in business? And just because when you're building a company, in essence, you're building people, or you have to work with people, which is a contributing factor of you getting to that next level of success. So, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, it's very tough, to be honest, because you're right. When people begin to count your coins, or they see success by numbers, but don't understand the back end of the actual dollars and cents, that they figure your profit margins are so elaborate, not understanding that, hey, well, maybe they have good credit, that's why they drive a nice car, right? Because cars aren't always indicative of income.
At all.
Right? For some, maybe, right, because they don't have great credit, and so you have to have high income, things like that. But they do begin to count what you bring in, and they do begin to feel entitled to it, right? And so one of the things that I've told a friend before who felt that I did hire to do work, and he felt like he should get a raise. So the conversation went as such that I said, well, I'm willing to give you a raise. Show me what you're going to do greater than what you're already doing that's going to necessitate me giving you a raise.
Correct.
Well, he was unhappy with that. I said, look, you show me by what you're going to do, and then I'll come and evaluate that, and let's make it happen. Well, he thought automatically it should just be given to him because my company has prospered. And he thought he was the major contributing factor to it, when in reality, did he help? Yeah, but that's what you got paid for. We negotiated and agreed to that. Right. You did your job. Now you're wanting to be paid more, which I don't mind. Hey, look, if I win, I do want you to win as well. But let's make sure it's based on certain merit and certain work ethic that you put in, not just arbitrarily saying, hey, listen, here's more money just because you're doing the exact same work.
Well, people don't understand when your company makes more money, typically your expenses go up too.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to invest back into your company, right? In order to be able to stay relevant in such a changing marketplace. So it has definitely been tough to manage with people because one of the other challenges is they don't always come tell you what they're feeling.
Go and tell
they want to tell others, and they never tell you at times, right? So you really don't know unless you have some people that are very loyal to you that say, hey, listen, this is what so-and-so said. Right. And then you have to balance whether or not you're going to go back and confront that person, because now are they trying to sow discord in your business among people that work with you, or are they just saying that out of frustration and they're afraid to tell you?
Correct.
I think I'm a very approachable person, but that may not be how they perceive me. So we do try to create those times where we get to spend some time developing them a little bit more and hoping that they're going to implement what we've taught them.
Definitely.
Often it doesn't happen, yet they still expect to be, compensated at greater wages and stuff. So
right. And so it's interesting you say that, because when people come to me and they're always saying, hey, I'm trying to get to that next level. How do I get my company to, more revenue? How do I increase my income? Do I go back to school? Do I do this? Do I do that? I'm like, well, you know what? How you increase your income is by increasing your value in the marketplace.
Sure.
And so I tell people, if you choose to go back to school, don't go for the degree, go for the information, because that information is how you increase your value.
Sure.
Same thing in business. You increase your value in the marketplace. Why would one want to come and spend money with your company? Why would one want to give you a raise? What value are you bringing to the table? And so that's one of the things that I'm always sharing with people. And I like how you pretty much phrased it the same way, was just saying, what quantifies you getting this raise?
Exactly.
Because we agreed that you get paid for what you're already doing. What else,
what
are you bringing to the table?
Yeah, and
is what it boils down to.
And a lot of times, people feel like the fact that they've been with you longer, even though their output is the exact same,
correct,
that longevity alone should dictate being paid more. And there is value in them being with you longer, right? Because I don't have to worry about the turnover, retraining, things of that nature. So we can discuss a raise, but you may not like the size of raise that you're going to get, but you're asking for something much greater. However, when there's greater opportunity, taking advantage of it, that's where you're going to get your larger pay raises and stuff. And so we try to develop people, but that again is depending upon that person's passion and their ambition, because if it doesn't always intersect with where you're going, then they're going to show it by having a lack of work ethic and stuff. So we've been able to identify that, and we realize who they are, and we allow them to stay in those buckets or categories. Because if you're not showing any initiative to grow, then I realize that may not be in our company where you're best at. So cool, keep doing your job that you're paid for. That I appreciate. In the meantime, I'm going to find some other people who can do that. What we have found is that sometimes your employees or your partners or your coworkers will get jealous when new people come on doing some things they were supposed to do that now they're wanting to do it because they see someone else doing it. I'm literally dealing with that right now.
Right. It's the shit they don't tell you about in business.
It is that. It
You
is
know,
that,
is what I
man.
always
So I'm
say.
assuming you got a volume 2 prepped and ready to go.
Oh man, it's in the works. It's in the works, definitely. So let's talk about the multimedia company, all that dope stuff you have going on. Bringing the culture to Vegas. What do you think has made you have the recipe for success? Because even during my time being out here in Vegas, I've been here 14 years. A lot of people,
long?
yeah,
That's
the
right,
time
huh?
flew, man.
Jeez.
Time flew.
Wow.
I know. It seemed like yesterday I was
Jeez.
dog sitting your dog and sleeping on the couch,
man.
and, and
That's
all
crazy.
that stuff. What do you think helped contribute to your level of success? Because a lot of people have tried to come into Vegas and stamp their flag, or even a lot of people here locally have tried to, do the exact same thing that you've done, but have not had the longevity of success. Because there's been some people that's come and hit a quick lick, as they say in the community, but have not been able to stand the test of time. Where do you think, your level of consistency have come from?
I think that's a very good question, because it is what we tend to think now is it is an unprecedented run at certain aspects, because people do expect us to fail.
Correct.
Some even hope for us to fail more than I care to admit, to be honest, because it does hurt knowing that there are people out there that want that. But the recipe, I would say, that I've been able to gather is really, really understanding the city thoroughly. What that looks like is understanding the natives are very different from those that have been living here, like yourself, 14 years. They're still very different. Then understanding those that are transplants that come looking for how to merge all those together to create a salad that everyone wants to eat out of, right? Excuse me. In addition to that, when I look at our recipe, it comes with also understanding business, which a lot of times people go into business not understanding business, right? So if I know how to make chicken and waffles, right, that doesn't mean I understand business.
I say that all the time.
Right? And so as a result of that, you can go into business knowing how to make shea butter work and last, or know how to make a lotion. But that doesn't mean you understand accounting. That doesn't mean you understand your startup costs, your overhead, employee relations, insurance, tax, credit, finance, marketing,
Again, the
branding.
shit they don't tell you.
Stuff they don't tell you, right?
It really is.
Yeah. And even when you go to school, it's so much they're not telling you, because our education system, in my assessment, is at least 40 years behind, right? And so for me, when I look at the recipe, I say that having a keen sense of business, having a corporate background in marketing, understanding the city, and understanding who the audience or who the consumer is that I'm going after. I chose not to go after everyone. A lot of times when you do business with people,
Focus on your niche.
you focus on your niche and your ideal customer. And so when we really identified that, because we realized that there is a certain customer that we do not want.
Correct.
Right? The customer that's not going to care about our business, the customer that doesn't have to go to work in the morning. We didn't want the customer that had nothing in life that at risk. We wanted people that actually, if you owned a home or you had a family. If you have a family, often you want to get to work in the morning, right? And so we begin to identify and develop profiles for who we wanted from a marketing standpoint, and then that's really what our success was: is really having a keen sense of who the consumer was that we truly wanted, because often people gloss over that. It's you know what? I'm a massage therapist. Everybody's my client or customer.
And that's not true.
And that's not true, right? Devin doesn't get massages out of his home, right? My wife only, and that's it.
Right.
Well, if you're saying everybody, you're spending marketing dollars targeting me, but I'm not the person who's going to spend money with you. Now, my wife, she'll come to you once a week. Understand who she is and direct your effort, your dollars, and attention towards her.
Definitely.
So I think that having a marketing background gave me an edge that the average promoter in the nightlife culture side doesn't have.
Correct.
And then on the flip side, on the multimedia aspect, is typically people do it out of saying, okay, there is a need, and that is the first step. But their vision really isn't large enough to be sustainable, right? So because technology is changing and it's changing faster than we're able to keep up with it. Well, for the Go Urban City brand, the idea was to be nimble enough as a company and a brand to be able to change with the platform. I'm not committed to any one platform to get the word out or to deliver a message to.
You just want to have
the
content.
To the content and the consumer.
Absolutely.
Those are the two most important things to me. And so creating our own platform while still using their platforms to reach our community has been very successful for us.
And that's ultimately how this podcast got started. It was more about just creating the content and me knowing who my target audience is. And my audience is, we don't get to hear these type of conversations. So I want to be the one that's going to deliver it to the people. And so a couple things within that last, discussion. One, I think the other piece for your recipe for success is that, I know there were a lot of hurdles you went through just from following the journey of the business.
Still going through them.
And you never let it stop you. And I think that's a lot of times within, people's journey of business. They get one roadblock and they give up. Oh, this don't work. This is a scam. The man holding me down. It's like, no, you just got to keep going. And so I definitely feel that that's one of the many recipes that you've added to you guys' success. But then also too, the thing that I've always appreciated that you guys also do is the fact that you've catered to the business professionals as well. It's not a lot of groups that cater to business professionals like, hey, we're having this nightlife event, come out. Well, a person who is at a certain, income bracket may not want to come because they don't know the type of crowd that's going to be there. Not because they feel they're better, but they want to protect their brand, their image, their company brand and image. And I think you guys have done a really good job of saying, hey, we want to create a salad that's, palatable for everyone. But you can come out even though that you're that attorney or you're that CEO of that company and different things like that. So I think that's dope, man.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. It is true that I focused when I started on the middle and professional class demographics. We looked at that to say that's going to be our starting point. So we started really in the middle. I would say slightly above middle, but we started in that area and then we begin to work our way up and down, right? Because we realized that who has more disposable income, who has commitments that they don't want to come out and act crazy and get some shut down. So we wanted to set a certain culture. So when you came, if you were unfamiliar with the brand or the people, you would have to somewhat adjust to what we were, not coming in just saying, hey, I don't care who they are, but you're going to catch the vibe at first. Say, okay, this is a little bit different type of thing. Let me button my, my shirt up. Let me pull my pants up.
People had to come out and actually throw an outfit on.
Yeah, you have to put something on, right? And so I think that was one of my focuses when we started. And now at some of the events, it's already there. It exists. That's what you expect if you get a message from me saying, hey, this is something for you, et cetera. And then we also realized that there was an untapped market for professionals. That there's not a nightlife or an experience that caters to them that also includes the vibe that they want.
Because it was either the strip or the strip.
Right. One or the other,
the strip club. So it was no medium.
Yeah, and the thing is that it as much as it was about the professionals, but it was even more so about the type of vibe the professionals wanted. You can go to mixers all day with the broader community, but it wasn't something, it didn't have enough flavor to it, if you will, right? And so we wanted to create something that was very professional, that also maintained that level of flavor that they would say, this is somewhere that I want to be. And so with that, we've created something that people know, hey, listen, you can trust their events. Don't worry, you're going to be good. Come out, they're looking to network. I mean, we've met so many people that come out. I'm talking about people in the 7-figure tax bracket, much like yourself. That
you're gonna have to throw that out there, huh?
Much like yourself, us that are in the single digit, and then we trying to get to the double digit tax bracket. We like to just rub elbows with you guys, and so and one of the other parts that we haven't talked about is one of my focuses has been to have events that were multi-generational, that begin to divide or bridge that divide, where only young people want to be around each other.
You see everybody
or the
there.
older generations want to be. No, we want the generations to come together and say, hey, listen, you don't have to be on the ground twerking, but you also don't have to be walking around in zoot suits either.
Now, I have seen some grandmas twerking at your
Well,
events.
you have, and you have, and you know, some of them, you know, you don't know their grandma, but they be out there,
true.
you know.
That is true.
But we definitely have found a niche that was underserved, and we've really seized that to where now they bring their other professionals out, and when they come to the city, they're telling them to come out. We've hosted the fraternities, which we know is a very professional group. We've hosted business groups. We've hosted major national organizations that come out because the vibe, the brand, the experience is a world-class experience, especially for our community, that you don't get even in some cities that I took for granted, that somewhere like Houston, that they had what we have. And weirdly enough, I get people that say, man, we need this in our city.
Right.
And I'm always blown away because I'm thinking, you guys have everything. But they say, but we don't have this.
Right.
And
I think it's the culture that you've created.
It very well
within that.
could
It's
be,
the culture.
yeah. And so, but, you know, I'm just very grateful for the support that we've received, yes, in Vegas, but also around the country.
Absolutely.
Because we get people, even I get calls from the hotels, and I got a call several times, but one particular time from a brother that was from London. He heard about us. He was staying at the Wynn Hotel, which is one of the higher-end hotels in the city, and he had their concierge. He was one of their big players. He had their concierge make a reservation for a bottle service, and you know he came and spent very generously. But it kind of threw me for a loop because this is a brother from London, African brother that lives and grew up in London, and he heard about it. And he came out and, you know, said his friends had been here before from London. And so we really have grown throughout the nation, even to some degree outside of the country.
Right.
So.
No, definitely. I mean, it literally is. I mean, like your Sunday night events.
Right.
The, you know, Neo Soul urban events. I mean, like I have people who contact me and say, hey, I'm coming to Vegas. Have you heard about the Neo Soul event on Sunday? I'm like, yeah, you have to go.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so definitely. So let's pivot from there. Some of your community work.
Sure.
Because I know you're real big in the community and doing different things. How did that come about? Obviously, knowing, you know, you have a love for the city,
right,
and you do a lot just within a Black community-wise.
Right.
You know, so what has that process been like? I'm pretty sure, you know, it was something that drew you to that, because you could have easily just been making your money and been good.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't plan on being it. I'd never really envisioned myself owning my own business, to be honest. I figured I was just going to have a corporate life, be good, you know, me and my wife, you know, have a family. And that is how I would write my story. Obviously, things changed. And I wasn't the person that was disgruntled when it came to leaving my corporate life. I chose to because I began to really look at the lay of the land and see, wow, these are some areas of need that I know I have a certain skill set for, that I know I probably should fill. So on the community side, though, growing up in Vegas, I often saw what we didn't have. As much as we were a strong community, living in a all-Black neighborhood and understanding that segregation was going on when my family lived here, and now I'm part of being integrated, understanding the time, I then said, you know, how do I keep with the legacy of building our community so we can have a voice, we can have land, we can have homes, and we can hopefully move closer to wealth creation in life. And it made me really look at the community work and say, what am I doing to better my community? Because when I moved back from Vegas, I would do some things, but I really wasn't giving much time and attention to it. So I started a community organization, which was called Vegas Black Think Tank, where we just found it necessary to, one, have some ongoing discussions. Well, that started because I had somehow found out about the State of Black America that Tavis Smiley was doing on an annual basis when he was having these big symposiums. And I so happened to catch one on C-SPAN. I'm an avid watcher of C-SPAN. That that was going on when I was living in Hawaii. When I was living in Hawaii, I was known as Mr. Highlighter because I read a lot and I also read dictionaries nonstop. And then I watched C-SPAN a lot, right? And so I saw the State of Black America that Tavis Smiley had did, which might have been 2006, 7, or 8. Might have been 2006, actually. I was so enamored by the level of brilliance of Black folks from across the country.
Correct.
I was like, wow, this is absolutely amazing. And so I was so inspired by it that 2 years later, he was doing one in New Orleans. And so I said, you know what, let me go be part of this to experience this. And then that year when it was happening, literally, we're in the conference and Barack Obama had announced that he was running for office while we were at the conference.
Wow.
So that became a part of the discussion down there. And so we that was after Hurricane Katrina had happened in New Orleans.
Okay.
So we did some volunteer projects. We went into New Orleans, can't remember where, but we went and painted a school. While we were there, I got to meet Dr. Cornel West, who I was already enamored by. And so I got to meet him. And I've been wanting to meet him. He was really like one of the intellectual giants that I love so much. And so after meeting him, going there, I was really inspired. I said, what I love about what Tavis Smiley was doing was having these big conversations about Black America. What he wanted was to have us go back home and do something. And I said, well, I need to have these conversations in Vegas. But having an annual conversation to me was not enough to effect change in our city. And so I said, you know what, I need to have these more frequent. So I decided to do a symposium once a month to have a continuous dialogue that would happen that would allow the conversation and the agenda to be developed and move forward. And that's really where my community. Then I stopped for a while because one of my mentors at the time, who I won't give his name, but he said, listen, you can do all that you want for the community. You can give book bags, you can have conversations, you can give them turkeys and chickens and shoes and haircuts. He said, but listen, the best thing you can ever do is to create a job for someone that will pay them, give them benefits because they have pride about work. And that will mean more to them than just giving handouts. And so I then said, okay, now I need to go back and be a full-time CEO and run my company, grow it. And from then on, I haven't looked back to where now I'm just getting back into community work again because I feel like I've grown my business enough, it's established enough that I can pull my head from outside of my business and balance a little bit more in life.
Right. So talking about, the community work and being that full-time CEO, creating opportunities, one of the next things that I like about what you're doing within the community, which is also shining spotlights on other CEOs or just influential people within the community that could get someone in position for that opportunity for a job or something, is the Success in the City.
Yeah.
A very dope event that I had a chance to actually come out and witness and be a recipient of that. So I appreciate, you shining the light on me. But no, just like, I just, appreciate you just always thinking about the community first. Thinking about, literally light years ahead of what probably a lot of people are doing within their communities.
Yeah, I think that part of what Success in the City was created was to connect us again because we're not, we're all working very hard. We're grinding, we're hustling. And I hate when people misuse the word hustle. But
we were just talking about that.
I hate when they misuse it because we look at it in the most pejorative way.
It's really just survival.
It is. Absolutely, man.
It's survival.
It is. And those that are out there. So I said, I have to make sure that I can not only honor those that are achieving and growing and being successful, but more than those things, I wanted to create an environment where we get to reconnect because where you were 5 years ago is not where you are today.
Absolutely.
You're further ahead. So the Will I knew then is a different Will, right? So let me get my head out of the work and let me come back and talk with Will because there's things that he's going to share with me that now I need that.
Correct.
Right? And just like the last Success in the City, we had the first Black Attorney General that we honored, Aaron Ford. Aaron Ford ended up bringing presidential candidate Mayor Buttigieg to the forum to speak to us. I suspect he's not going to be the last presidential candidate that's going to come to my event and speak to us. But not only that, he had the media covering him. We had CNN in the house, Fox News, MSNBC, I believe the New York Times. We had some national press coverage at the event as well. As much as it's not about them, but what it is about is us realizing that not just talking it, but networking again, developing relationships, because there's so many people that's putting in work that if we collaborated, if we worked together, we could do so many more things and provide more job opportunities, more
absolutely
business and entrepreneurial opportunities, more finance, more capital to the marketplace
Definitely.
for our own community.
Absolutely.
We don't always have to go to other people to finance our own liberation, if you will.
Creating our own self-sustained community is really what it boils down to. No, I love it, man. I love it. No.
Yeah. And I think that, and again, I'm glad you allowed us to honor you at Success in the City. You were among some of the first honorees at Success in the City. And one of our other honorees that I went to high school with, she's now the head of the Gaming Commission for the state of Nevada. And she's only 41 years old.
That's huge.
Right? The level of talent and hustle and grit and grind that we've been putting in, we have to be able to see each other in order to cross-pollinate, because we don't know each other exists.
Absolutely.
We're in our lane, we're working, we're funding, we're building. But how much more could we do if we did that with someone else that was on the same path in a different industry, right? We could just do so much more. So that's part of what we do at Success in the City.
And that's why you got to keep it going. I'm going to continue to support.
Absolutely.
I need everybody to go out, support this brother, support this Black King who's been breaking records, breaking ground out here in Las Vegas, man. So no, I appreciate that. How can people follow you? How can they follow the movement? How can they support?
So I definitely appreciate you for having me here.
Thank you.
I talk about your books. As a matter of fact, I hope we can do a panel and a workshop with you on the publishing side and on all the knowledge that you have when it comes to being a full-time CEO, as well as your company when it comes to, Credit is King, which is a phenomenal read. I'm already halfway through the book.
Thank you.
But finding me, simple, the easiest way outside of the traditional direct when it comes to your email or your phone number, social media. I have over 150 pages. I'm on constantly for content reasons, right? And building up the communities in those local cities. But particularly, I would say you can follow me on Go Urban Vegas, be it Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. That's Go Urban Vegas. Also Go Urban City if you want to be able to check out other cities as well. And that's where we'd be happy to connect with you. Neo So Vegas, if you want to check out some of the entertainment events that we do. As I said, this weekend, today we have Bobby V performing at Blue Martini. Next Friday, we have Chingy performing. And then we have some more artists that we're going to be bringing to the city constantly, and very possible, man. I'd love to bring them on your show.
Absolutely.
When we do have some of them in town, so we'll have to arrange that as well to be able to hear from them and let them engage with our city as well.
All right, say less, man. We're going to make it happen. So there it is. I'll call him the mayor of Las Vegas.
And I say I'm the mayor of my home.
And so Devin Moore, man, we definitely appreciate you, brother, man. So again, this is Will Roundtree with the Wealth Files. Again, make sure you go out. Let's support this brother. Let's help him keep the initiative going. Again, make sure you go out. If you have not picked up the books, go to Amazon. You know where you can get the information. So again, family, I appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all like, share, comment, subscribe, do all that dope stuff to this video. Again, this is Will Roundtree, and I'll see you all at the top. Peace. Thank you for tuning in to the Wealth Files podcast. My name is Will Roundtree. Yo, make sure that you subscribe to me on YouTube at Mr. Will Roundtree. And also, you can follow me on all the top podcast sites, Google, Anchor, Apple, as well as Spotify. And again, family, I appreciate you going on this journey with me, and I'll see you all at the top.